comment,
and subscribe for more content.
Where's the notification bell?
It's to the right of you.
Oh.
What's up, guys? It's DK Wrestler here, and in today's video, it's the first ever edition of Funko Pros and Cons. But before that happens, make sure you press the subscribe button for more content like this video in the future, and press the little bell beside it to be notified of when that future content gets released. But anyways, guys, let's check it out. So like I said in today's video, it is actually going to be the very first edition of a new series we're bringing here on the channel called Funko Pros and Cons, which I think is pretty self-explanatory, but I will go into a little more info about this series. So hopefully with the series, we do this at least once a month. It might be bi-monthly, but for this series, we pick 3 pros and 3 cons for a certain topic involved in the Funko community, whether it's talking about a retailer or just something happening in the Funko community overall. And I felt that there was no better topic to start off this series than discussing about what probably is one of, if not the most discussed topics in not only the Funko community, but really any collecting community, and that is flippers on the secondary market. Now, I don't think I have to go into any explanation on what a flipper is. I think you guys at this point would know what a flipper is already. So without further ado, let's kick off with the cons portion for this episode. So the first con I have here for flippers on the secondary market is something that I think we can all agree on for a con, and that is bots. Bots, of course, are like the little, I guess I would say, more of like a hacking mechanism where, example, let's say the Funko shop drops a really cool pop on the website and it's a limit of 2, but somehow with a bot, you end up getting 10, which really is unfair and is a huge con as terms to flippers on the secondary market, where they have this mechanism that can get more. Some people can only get 2, and then there's people that have pops that sell out in their cart because of these bots, and this is a huge problem as terms to flippers on the secondary market, especially if you are not a flipper, you're just a casual person, but you really want this certain pop of a character. Then it really disappoints you to see them gone, because essentially there's some person out there with some sort of bot that's taking more than they're supposed to. And the second con I have for flippers on the secondary market is, of course, paying ridiculous amounts of money for said Funko item. It really sucks seeing some items that you might actually need for your collection per se instead of some wants, and then it's selling out on certain websites, and then you have to resort to secondary websites like, example, eBay and Mercari, and then seeing the prices go up just drastically. And it really sucks for the people that really want this, and then they end up having to pay so much money for said item. I think a really good example for this case, at least for the last year or so, are the blacklight pops, because a lot of the blacklight pops, they end up selling out really fast, and especially if someone has a bot, like I mentioned in the last con, they have a bunch of them, and now they are selling it for double or triple, maybe even quadruple the amount of money, and it kind of either forces you to think, do I want that pop or do I not want that pop? But because I really want that pop, I might have to pay a ridiculous amount of money, which ends up just sucking really badly, because of the fact that at some point you might actually buy a pop, they will sell for a ridiculous amount of money, and I think this goes for a lot of sets too, and then over time, the value of that pop goes down, which really sucks if you ended up being the person that ends up paying a ridiculous amount of money, and now it's only worth a little bit of money months later when you could have waited to get that same pop. And the last con I have here for flippers on the secondary market is essentially deciding that you aren't going to get the Funko Pop after all. There are people out there that aren't willing to pay more than retail price. There are those people out there where, let's say, a Funko Shop exclusive, I'll keep using Funko Shop most likely for an example for this episode. Let's say the pop is $15, and then all of a sudden it goes on eBay for maybe $90, and then people don't want to pay that much, so either they end up just deciding overall, instead of paying the $90, they're just gonna be like, I guess I'm not getting the pop. They just end up not having the pop, even if it's a character that might have never been made in Funko Pop form or just Funko item before, and then finally it comes out, but they can't get it because it's ridiculously expensive to the point where it's just not in their budget. And now we are moving on to the pros of the flippers in the secondary market. And I think the first pro I have is a pretty easy one to think of: making money. Of course, being a flipper, standing outside of, let's say, a Hot Topic for 3 hours to get a chase variant of a Hot Topic exclusive, and then selling it for triple the amount of money that you paid for, and then making a profit off it, is a huge pro, because that means more money in your pocket to either do that process again, I guess, by going and flipping more pops, or gaining money so that you can end up getting pops that you want in your collection and you might have never been able to afford before. Like, let's say there is an ad icon grail out there that you want. Maybe from the money that you make from flipping that said pop that you aren't having in your collection, you can use that money to essentially pay for that Funko item that is worth a ton of money. So the next pro I have here, I feel like it's a pro that people might not actually think it's a pro, but in my case that I'm putting this as a pro, it is helping people out. Now you're probably thinking, how does a flipper help someone out? They're just selling it for a ridiculous amount of money. If they were actually helping out, they would sell for retail price. The reason I put this as a pro is because there are people out there that aren't able to get certain Funko items. No one except anyone in the US can order off of the Funko shop, so far it's a little bit harder to get these Funko shop exclusives. So some people, they might want to buy certain exclusives and they might not hit up certain countries, and then when they sell them for a profit, it is helping someone out, because when there are people out there that are willing to pay more than retail price for a pop, it essentially is like, wow, this guy has the Funko Pop for sale, I'm gonna grab it from this guy. An example I'm going to use for this pro is a retailer here in Canada called K-Dog and Fish. And yes, K-Dog and Fish do not sell the Funko Shop exclusives for retail value. It just realistically does not make sense, especially because they purchase Funko Shop exclusives, they get it sent to their US PO box to get it sent to their store here in Canada, and then they have to make money back somehow. But they don't do it just because of making some sort of profit, but they are helping out us Canadian Funko fanatics, where it's not very easily accessible to essentially get Funko Shop exclusives. Yes, Toys R Us here in Canada now sells Funko Shop exclusives, but at the same time, there are those people out there that will go to Toys R Us, they'll storm the store, take all of the Funko Shop exclusives, and sell them for probably way more than, let's say, K-Dog and Fish would even sell them for. So getting retailers like K-Dog and Fish to help Canadians out, essentially, for my example, is great, because there are people out there that will go and buy a bunch of these, and even though they're selling them for more than retail, there are people out there, like example K-Dog and Fish, that won't sell them for ridiculous amounts of money. They're doing it mainly to help out the people that just can't get these exclusives. And the last pro I have here for this episode of Funko Pros and Cons for flippers on the secondary market, and once again, it is a big pro. They are the reason that pops or Funko items in general are worth money to begin with. We essentially need flippers in this kind of community, because if there were no flippers, every Funko item would not be worth anything. They are the reason of why pops or sodas or any Funko items are either worth so much money or they're worth only a little bit of money. If you see a pop that is worth $200, $300, $400, it's because it's the flippers that are making those values. If someone sells it for a certain price, it could drive up the value. And if someone bought something for cheap and added it to Pop Price Guide, then it might drive down the value. So essentially, flippers are the reason things are worth so much. An example I'm going to use here of pops worth so much money and doing an investment with is essentially, I waited outside of Hot Topic to pick up my co-host MD Shady a Captain Rex New York Comic Con exclusive pop from 2018 for retail price at Hot Topic, where it was shared, and it was $18 Canadian. And now in today's age, thanks to flippers, that pop is well worth almost $500 Canadian. So it's one of those items. Let's say my co-host decides maybe I want to get different pops and this isn't really a need in my collection anymore, he could possibly go sell it and make a crap ton more money off of it, thanks to the flippers on the secondary market for making that. Because essentially, if there were no flippers, that pop would still be worth $15 or $18 retail price. It would essentially be worth nothing. Anyways, guys, that is going to be the end of this first ever edition of Funko Pros and Cons. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button. Comment in the comment section below and let me know, do you have any other pros and cons that I did not mention in this video? And also, if you like to, suggest an idea for a future episode of Funko Pros and Cons. And like I said earlier, press the subscribe button for more content like this video in the future, and press the little bell beside it to be notified of when that future content gets released. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching today's video and hope to see you guys next time. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here. Follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at A Funko Popcast. If you want to check out some of our other content that's featured on our channel, you can click either the playlist that's on your screen right now featuring previous episodes of our weekly podcast, A Funko Popcast, or we have suggested a video for you guys in relation to today's video.